Hello students, uh, today I am going to complete the chapter The Adventures of Toto, and in the last video you have understood that how grandfather had bought the Toto to his family as a pet, and also you have known that he was not able to go through all the pet animals in the house. He was not in a habit of making friends with other animals, and also you came to know that how grandfather had took him to Saharanpur, and what had happened during this journey. Now, a great treat for Toto during cold winter evening was the large bowl of warm water given him by grandfather for his bath. Look, during the winter season, the grandfather gave Toto a large bowl of warm water so that he could bath in that. He would cunningly test the temperature with his hand, then gradually step into the bath. First one foot, then the other, as he had seen me doing, until he was into the water up to the to his neck. That means when grandfather gave him the bowl of hot water, he would first test the heat of the water with his one arm, just like the author, and then he would get into the water for bath. Once comfortable, he would take the soap in his hands or feet and rub himself all over. When he found the water was comfortable for him, then what he would do, he would take a soap and rub the whole body with the soap. When the water became cold, he would get out and run as quickly as he uh, could to the kitchen fire in order to dry himself. And when the water became cold, in bathing in the cold warm water, when the water became cold, then what he would do? He would go to the kitchen to warm himself in the fire of the kitchen. If anyone laughed at him during this performance, and while doing this, if anyone laughed at him for his performance, what he was doing, Toto's feelings would be hurt. Then he would be felt hurt. He would felt hurt, and he would refuse to go on with his bath, and then he would refuse to go to bath. That means he did not want to bath. If anyone make any laugh at him. One day, Toto nearly succeeded in boiling himself alive. And one day, what had happened? One day, he was going to boil himself. A large kitchen kettle had been left on the fire to boil for tea, and Toto, finding himself with nothing better to do, decided to remove the lid. Look here. One day in the kitchen, a large kettle was kept upon the fire to boil tea, and Toto, when he went the kitchen, he found the water of the kettle boiling, and he decided to remove the lid. Finding the water just warm enough for a bath, he got in with his head sticking out from the open kettle. Look here. And when he removed the lid, and when he tested the heat of the water, he found that it was comfortable for him. So he went into the get into the kettle, and what he did also, his head sticking out from the open kettle. He was looking out of the kettle. This was just fine for a while until the water began to boil, and it was good. It was comfortable for a little while until the water getting boiled. That means you know that there was fire under the kettle, so it was making more heat, more and more heat. Toto then raised himself a little, but finding it cool outside, sat down again. Then, when he felt a little more warmer in the bottom, then he would try to stand up, and finding that the outside was cold, he again sat down in the water. He continued hopping up and down for some time, and this process he was doing for a little time until grandmother arrived and hauled him half boiled out of the kettle. And then grandmother arrived here and took him out of the kettle. If there is a part of the brain especially devoted to mischief, that part was largely developed in Toto. The author says if anyone's body, if there is a brain especially devoted to mischief in the brain, then this part must be developed, very developed in Toto's head. He was always tearing things to pieces. What he was doing? He was always tearing the things into pieces. Whenever one of my aunts came near him, he made every effort to get hold of her dress and tear a hole in it. Whenever some aunts come to near him, he would try to tear the dress or to make a hole in it. One day at lunchtime, a large dish of pulao stood in the center of the dining table. One day, at the time of lunch, when everyone was ready to get their lunch, that a large dish of pulao was kept in the dining table. We entered the room to find Toto stuffing himself with rice. And when the family entered the dining room, they found that Toto was stuffing himself with rice. My grandmother screamed and Toto threw a plate at her. And seeing this, the author's grandmother screamed, cried, and seeing this, Toto threw a plate at her. One of my aunts rushed forward and received a glass of water in the face. And one of the author's aunt rushed forward. Then what had happened? Then a glass of water hit in her face. When grandfather arrived, Toto picked up the dish of pulao and made his exit through a window. And when grandfather came there, Toto picked up the dish of the pulao and ran through the window. We found him in the branches of the jackfruit tree, the dish still in his arms. And when they searched Toto, they found him on the branches of a jackfruit tree, and the dish was also with in his hands, in his arms. He remained there all afternoon, eating slowly through the rice, determined on finishing every grain. And for the whole day, for the whole evening, he remained on the branches, eating slowly the rice, and also he was determined to completely eat the each grain of that bowl. And then, in order to spite grandmother, who had screamed at him, he threw the dish down from the tree. And to take a revenge with the grandmother who had screamed at him, he threw the dish from the tree and chattered with delight when it broke into 100 pieces. And when the dish broke out into pieces, he became very happy and he chattered with delight. Obviously, Toto was not the sort of pet we could keep for long. Now, we can understand very easily that Toto is not a kind of animal which can be kept at home, which can be domesticated. He was a great problem for all. Even grandfather realized that and grandfather also realized this thing, that Totos must not be kept at home. We were not well to do and could not afford the frequent loss of dishes, cloths, curtains, and wallpaper. The author said that they were not so much rich that they could afford all the things regularly. So grandfather found the Tonga driver and sold Toto back to him for only 3 rupees. So grandfather found the Tonga driver again and sold Toto again to him for 3 rupees. So from this story written by Ruskin Bond, we can understand that all animals cannot be kept at home. Well, all animals cannot be domesticated. As in the story, we have found that the baby monkey who was given so much facilities to keep as pet as home, but he could not leave his mischievous habits, and now the family sold him once again. So, students, I think you have understood this story, and tomorrow I will give you the important questions to write in your notebooks. Thank you.